So let's get started diving into why I think you should use market share as your North Star. I think it's enables you to get a lot of different views of how you can optimize your business, how you're doing in the competitive market and your landscape. And it's probably one of the most underutilized features that most sellers don't know about or don't use today. And this is really what I want to spend the time talking about. You may know Jungle Scout really invented product research about 9 years ago, created the whole category. We're the first person on the market. About 4 years ago, we launched an enterprise product that revolutionized what we're doing and started making market share available. And now we've brought some of that market share down to a smaller, more manageable size for smaller businesses at a more affordable price. What we're going to talk about is market share of how you can go use it both at the large enterprise and all the way down throughout the businesses. And I'm going to give you some examples of why it's so impactful and why you need to be doing this. And so if you think about what market share is, at the high level, it's just a metric. It's how much of your company's sales are part of the total market. But really, it represents a lot more than that. It really is part of what you need to be doing to form your long-term growth perspective for your company. How are you winning and establishing the market? One of the things that's critical on Amazon is the durability of brands. And if your brand isn't durable and making sure you're maintaining that market and winning it, it's not going to be as valuable in the long run. It's a comprehensive performance measurement. You can find all kinds of things of how your business is performing, figuring out your product strategy. Are there new products coming to market you need to be aware of? Are there new product opportunities you should be launching for product innovation? Monitoring your advertising. If you use an agency for your advertising, you can look at your own sales and see they're increasing, say 100% a year. You can look at your ROAS and it may look healthy. But what you might not see is that the total market's growing and other players are actually taking your share. And without using market share, you may think you're doing well, but you're actually losing and you're at risk of being disrupted. And then there's a bunch of other plays too of like, how do you go use it for listing optimization? And especially like I mentioned, product innovation is a big one. So let's go through and talk a little bit about energy drinks. I want to use this as an example because I think it's something most people know about. It's pretty interesting. If you go search for the bestseller energy drinks on Amazon, Celsius is currently the number one. You see Monster is up there as well, and then C4 and a few others. Typically, when you go look at market share, this is sort of what you'll get. And you'll look at the market share by the brands, and you'll see Monster Energy is leading the way. They have almost 18% of the market share. Red Bull is the second for energy drinks with 10%. Celsius is third at about 6.5%. And you can see the category is generating about $500 million, so $500 million in revenue. And this is great to understand it, but it doesn't help you improve your business. It doesn't help you sell more. It doesn't help you understand what the threats are. It doesn't help you with product innovation. And so that's where we can start looking at understanding this a little bit deeper. So the next slice I'd probably do is if I was Celsius, I would start looking at how am I doing? And you can see it's actually year over year increasing market share, which is obviously a good trend. And you can see where you're taking some of that share from. Red Bull and Monster, who are the two incumbents that we mentioned, are actually declining their presence in the market. That's nice to know. And it's great as a benchmark. And it's great to help inform strategies. But there's a lot more to know. And there's a lot more actionable pieces that you can actually go take out of this. So I mentioned this is especially important if you outsource your advertising to an agency. Making sure you're able to monitor this is critical. If you're an incumbent brand that's defending share, you need to know this. And if you're an up and coming brand, this is what you want to be benchmarking. Are you able to go effectively take share? And so I'm going to go talk through a little bit of the use case of how you can actually make this more actionable other than just benchmarking maybe once a quarter or once a month. And some of the ways that I mentioned was around product innovation. And so I'll show you some of the ways you can do this to use AI to go through and analyze your competitors, to analyze all the players in the market, to analyze their reviews, and also to find unmet customer needs. I think there's really interesting ways of finding new variations or new products from it. You can also use it to understand your pricing dynamics and also create best practices for how you go launch your brands. And so let's keep going with that energy drink example. What we've done is pulled all the reviews for the drinks, and this is specifically for Celsius, and then we've also pulled all the competitor reviews. For Celsius, you can see what the reviews are, what percentage are positive, negative, and it talks about some of the things that are good. You can see there's strong demand. People really like Celsius's flavors, and they like that there's that no crash later on feeling. So clearly like that messaging and product is resonating. But one of the things that people have mentioned is that they contain a lot of of caffeine, 200 milligrams plus. And sometimes that can cause jitters. And so if you go look at it, there actually isn't a light line, like a line of say 100 milligrams or 75 milligrams of caffeine. There's no products in the market today. And the reviews from both your product and from your competitors are showing there's an unmet need for that. People want an energy drink. So you think about it, either you're going to be able to go meet that need and you can go find out about it and learn, or someone's probably going to eventually bring something to market to go and meet that need. There's other ways of looking at this that are going to help you also grow your business. And one of the techniques that is really interesting is looking at how do you compare on keywords versus your competitors, and how do you go use that information to boost your ranking and boost your visibility. And so I'm going to go with a different example with dishwasher pods. And specifically, what we searched for here was the dishwasher detergent. And again, this is the Amazon bestsellers. And we'll go look at the number one bestseller again in dishwasher detergent. So it says Cascade Platinum. You can go use market share to help start breaking down what does the actual overall market look like? What do the dynamics look like? If you go back to the bestseller page, okay, it's mostly Cascade and Finish, but some of these will be influenced. The bestseller list updates every 4 hours. It can be influenced by different advertising, different promotions going on Amazon, off Amazon events, different things will go through and make this change. And so that doesn't necessarily give you the understanding of the market. So what you can do is you can go look at what the market actually looks like over the last 12 months and who are the big players and how much they have. You can see Cascade is the largest, has about 29%. Finish is the second largest. And then all the other brands have roughly half of the market. And why this is important is you may assume what the market looks like, but behaviors on Amazon are very different than they are off Amazon. And so I'll give you an example with keyword trends. Dishwasher detergents is one that's sold across a lot of different channels. Lots of online e-commerce retailers carry it, offline channels carry it. And when you go look at like search trends on Google, here's an example where you can see for the exact same keyword, the two different search trends are really different. The patterns are nowhere near the same. And that's because Amazon's search algorithm actually has an autocomplete functionality that tries to help encourage keywords that they believe for the customer will convert at the highest and goes through and autocompletes those. And you can see it greatly shapes the pattern of traffic. So Amazon is different than every other channel out there. So how do we go use this for our product, knowing that Amazon's different? And how do we go use it to inform our keyword strategy? So here's an example where we go look at this product. So that Cascade Platinum, again, this is the number one bestseller. And you can go look at it against, I picked the 3 products that I thought were probably the most similar. And you can see on this page, here's all the keywords where the competitors are ranking, and it can be sponsored or it can be organic. You can see under some of these, there's a little S at the top, that little black triangle. That indicates that it's actually a sponsored product that's showing up in the search rankings. The rest are organic rankings. And you can go see none of these have a sponsored product or a ranking on it. And so there's a whole bunch, for example, we'll go look at this first row. It's Finish dishwasher pods. If you think about that, and this is one where you may choose as Cascade, they already have one sponsored showing up in the 3rd position. That might be okay, but it's an opportunity to go look at like, can we go potentially put either a sponsored brand or sponsored product on competitor brand terms and use that to help win share? Sponsored brand ads are actually especially interesting. If you think about it, it's that banner at the top of the search result page, and you can even craft videos and messages as to why people should be looking at Cascade. Perhaps maybe you go look at some of that feedback that you get of why Cascade is better than Finish, and you help talk to some of those points where you can imagine like all the different ways you can use to try to go get sales. Similarly, that wasn't the only sponsored brand that it's absent of. You can see these 3 others are also brand terms for your competitor where there's no sponsored products and really no organic ranking. Even the other Cascade product is showing up on the 2nd page and beyond. And so you think about it, there's a pretty big opportunity to help go convert some of those. Similarly, it's not just for branded terms. For example, like in this product, dishwashing detergent liquid, that's one that it actually isn't have any competitors on. We don't have any ranking on. You can see Finish is showing up on the one of the top results for some of these. But your product, like Cascade, is essentially nowhere. And so you think about how do you go start converting on some of these terms. Again, you can use the sponsored brands of saying, hey, I see you're looking for liquid. Did you know that pods are more convenient or are cheaper or provide a better clean or whatever you want in that sponsored brand messaging? You can go craft a campaign that goes and targets that. And that's one of the things that's really interesting is you have virtually no presence right now and you're kind of giving up all of these sales. one of the things that I really like is you can now start taking this to figure out, okay, like what is the opportunity? Maybe it's actually not that much. Maybe I don't care about it. And so if you go look at the clicks and conversion data for the products, on this keyword, you can see the top clicked and the top conversion products. The conversion rate is generally about 3% or so. So if you start taking the search volume and multiplying by the conversion rate, multiply it by the price, it's over $40,000 a month. You're looking at over $500,000 a year on just these two search terms. And so that's one of the things that's like really interesting is you can now start figuring out, okay, how much opportunity is there? Is it worth the time and expense to go advertise on these? And that's one of the really great results. But one of the things that's pretty cool is you can do a lot more than that. You can start breaking it down even further. And so we're going to keep going with this example of the dishwasher detergent, but now maybe we want to go see who's actually selling these products. What's interesting is if you start breaking this down, Cascade dishwasher detergent is served both by Amazon.com, so through the 1P vendor relationship, and by 3P sellers. And Cascade probably has relationships with a lot of these. For example, you can see Office Depot, Office Max sells almost 20% of the 3P volume. And I don't know what kind of relationships Cascade has with these brands, but especially for ones that are selling lots of the product, they want to make sure that those brands are also keeping a high quality. Oftentimes for kitchen products, there might be expiration dates or different pieces that they need to make sure that it's like high quality inventory going into the supply chain. Because when you get a bad review for maybe if someone takes expired product or ships it in, that goes against the brand, it goes against the product. And so you want to make sure that you're understanding who's selling it. Are they getting reputable product from you, or are they going just buying maybe stuff that's expired already and trying to go resell it? And this is a great way where you can start seeing who's actually selling the product, what they're selling, and how much. I'll give you another example of Duracell batteries. And this is more than just potentially protecting your brand reputation. This could also be legal liabilities and risks. So you think about batteries, especially recently, there's been lots of fires that have started from batteries. About a third, about 20% actually of Duracell is sold by 3P. If you look at some of the larger brands like Rebel Smuggling, for example, sells $1 million. I have no idea if Rebel Smuggling is an authorized reseller, if they're legal or if they're not, what kind of quality they're selling. But this gives Duracell the information they need that you can start going in and producing test buys. You can go on Amazon and try and go buy directly from Rebel Smuggling, see what kind of products you're getting. Is it legitimate? Has it been expired? All those kind of things. And that's one of the things that's really critical to protect your brand. You think about market share, it's not what you think about, but it really is understanding the whole picture. And this is one of the great things that like market share helps you do. It's understand what's going on and then being able to go drill into the details. I'll go through one final example. And this is probably like one of my favorites that I've seen. And I see this a lot across a lot of different products. So earlier this year, Amazon launched their premium beauty brands and brought on a lot of brands. You can see the detail page here is a little bit different. They did this as part of the way of helping differentiate, helping bring some of these brands on. Clinique was one of them that they brought on. Basically, what it looks like they've done, I don't know, I haven't talked to anyone at Clinique, but what it looks like is they've basically taken all their product information they have. They sell across hundreds of retail channels, you think about it. And they basically, most of these large companies have a product information management system or a PIM, where basically all the details, their title, the description, what it does, ingredients, all that is in there. And they basically just upload it through Amazon. It's usually through EDI for retail vendors. It might be through feeds or it might be through the API, but they'll go through and upload that information. But they may not have taken the time to really go through and optimize it. And I think that's an example of what's happened here. And you can go find thousands of these all over. What you can see from this example is they have about 0.8% of the market share. They have some, but if you go look at the next products, they have significantly more. When you go look at what the competitor products are in this space, similar price point, they're selling almost $17 to $20 million worth of product. And that's one of the beautiful things that you can go see with like market research and with market share is what percentage of the market are you actually able to capture and what are your competitors doing? And then again, you can start drilling in and understand what's going on. So if you go look at this example, now let's start drilling into the keywords. There are over 18 missing ones versus these. And so this is ones where your competitors are ranking and you're not. This is where you can start drilling into the keywords and you can go see why are you potentially not winning here. There's lots of keywords here. You can see the one, for example, the second one, moisturizer. The Clinique moisturizer isn't showing up anywhere near it. Your competitors are showing up in positions 5 and 9. It gets almost 1.8 million broad searches. Hugely searched term. You have one of the dominant brands and there's no organic or sponsored ranking for it. And so this is potentially leaving millions and millions on the table. And so when I went through this product, you can actually go look at all the search volumes that you have, start looking at the conversion rates. They're doing about $2 million a year in sales. I think they could be doing anywhere from 15 to 20. So you're probably leaving as much as $18 million on the table on one product. This is one of the things I love about like being able to use market share as your North Star is you want to have known what that opportunity was, how much you could go do, and then be able to go drill down into the why. And that's what I think is really powerful about this and what's great.